Welcome to the Good Intention Show, coming to you live on the UI Radio Network. The Good Intention Show is sponsored by the United Intentions Foundation at unitedintentions.org, a virtual community where you learn to create, track, and manifest your passions one intention at a time. Look for us on Blog Talk, Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, and many more. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram under United Intentions and on Twitter at Higher Intention. Yes, this is the Good Intention Show, where you will meet people who live life intentionally and hear about things they're not telling you in the mainstream media. And now, here's the truth seeker, the snake charmer, a legend in his own mind, broadcasting live all over the universe, your host, Mr. Tim Ray.
All right. We have a wonderful show today. I think it was created. I think Yvonne Talley was born to write this book just for me. Is that pretty narcissistic or what?
It sounded like it.
Well, that's how much I identified with it, and it's called Breaking Up with Busy, and it is a phenomenal book today. Hello, WDJY listeners, also our new WWNN listeners, and of course WBOB listeners as well, Florida, Georgia, everyone out there, all internet speaker, everyone around the world. Welcome to a Monday morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know, right? So, yes, I really do believe this is a phenomenal book because something's going on in this world right now. Wahid, did you know that? Something's going on in this world right now?
Just one thing?
Well, it is I call a shift.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's the old kind of Piscean ways of control over others, control over your life versus the Aquarian age of allowing, right?
Right.
And one of the things I think is the indicator of when you're too much in the controlling rather than the allowing is how busy we are. And so it tells you kind of where I am, right?
Right.
Oops.
Those are all your thoughts right there on the cover?
Yeah, breaking up with busy. I got to break up with busy somehow, man. But today, you guys, you're not going to want to miss out on this. This is a phenomenal book, a phenomenal author, a phenomenal person who's going to explain to us how we can move from a controlling to more of allowing lifestyle so we can, and still get what we want and desire and be that maverick, be that person who shakes up things, be that person who manifests what they desire. I mean, it's going to be interesting to show today. A couple things here. We have the silver lining in Psychic Soup today. I'm excited about that. Beth's on at 12:30 right after me, and I think she has an interesting guest as well. And I think we're looking at, we're going to be talking about another show being developed on the network. We're in double digits. I can't keep up with all these network shows. Dawn Worthy's opening up her new show. Jesse, what was the name of that show? Dreamworthy.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Isn't that? Well, Worthy being her last name, right? I thought it was very clever. And so she'll be saying goodbye to Psychic Soup and hello to Dreamworthy. And on top of that, we also have the Silver Lining with Maria today later on at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You're not going to want to miss that. She always has fascinating guests who have had these tragedy lives and turn them around to triumph, and has really been an inspiration for people. And she is an inspiration for people too. So it's a wonderful show. Don't miss that. I will be on Lily McDermott's show this Saturday with Dr. Lee Cowden and Lillian, and we'll be talking about integrative medicine, integrative seniors, and what does it look like in the future? You know, and again, integrative seniors is about bringing body, mind, and soul into a senior's life, and where they could incorporate that in their day-to-day and truly get on board with the shift, what's going on. And you don't have to be a prisoner to your programming throughout 60, 70, 80 years. You could let that go anytime you want. And I think a lot are waking up, and thank God, because they're the wisdom of our culture. I think it's very critical there too. So sign up for a free membership. Go to unitedintentions.org, unitedintentions.org. Join. It's free. We're a 501c. If you like what we're doing and you want to share this with with yourself and other people, then share it, because we're all about getting the good message out. What is the good message? That we have the power of our intentions, co-creating with God every day, in the flow, in the living the life of an intentional life. Yes, we can co-create and create anything we choose to that is in line with that. So I think, and we want to be in line with that. We could create bad things, and we do all the time. most of us unknowingly. But once you claim back your power, you're not a victim anymore. So you can't play victim anymore, and that's the first biggest step right then and there. You understand you create everything you experience, and when you do that, how can you be a victim, Wahid? Right? Although listen, I have plenty of times I slip back into that victim mentality, but I catch myself a little bit quicker than I used to, which is half the battle, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Without further ado, let me tell you about our guest today, Yvonne Talley. She leads a meditation and mindfulness programs for corporations, private groups, and individuals in the Silicon Valley. Boy, tell me those boys and girls need it down there. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about staying busy, huh?
Yeah.
Busy, busy, busy. That's what my mom used to say about that rug. Don't buy that rug. That's busy, busy, busy. And throughout the United States, she's an NLP master practitioner. That's neuro-linguistic programming for the folks who are not familiar with NLP. And co-founded Poised Incorporated, a fitness lifestyle company. Well, she has the body, mind, and let's see if she has a soul in her. And we'll find that out here, if not on her bio, but in our interview. She's lives in Northern California, and her book she has here, which is called Breaking Up with Busy. What a great name. Also the name of our show today.
I love it.
I know, right? Isn't that incredible? Incredible name, Breaking Up with Busy. Overlooking sleeping and undersleeping, overbooking and undersleeping, and probably a personal journey of how she realized, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I'm looking forward to getting involved and hearing more about that. Just there's so much more to her. Again, if you want to reach her, you can go to Yvonne Talley, that's YVONNETALLY.com, YvonneTalley.com. Pick up the book as well as learn all about her. And so without further ado, Yvonne, welcome to the show.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Tim. It's great to be with you.
Wonderful. Listen, where have you been all my life?
I've been busy.
I've been busy. Yeah, you can make it a little bit louder, Wahid, for me. So no, I think that's wonderful. So I assume this is a testimony. Started out as a testimony, and now it's turned into something that you're able to share with others. So why don't you start from that point of when you realized that you were about to jump off a cliff at some point, because how busy you were.
Yeah. Well, they say to write about what you know, so that's part of it, certainly. And yeah, I do have a personal story with it, and also an observation of what has been going on in our culture, and of course that's what I do as I help people find a balance to their life in a healthy, well-spirited way. But for me, I was so busy teaching others how to live a vibrant and healthy lifestyle, growing a business, raising my daughter, that I missed my own signs of busy and overscheduled. So, it's a fast-paced, sleepless nights, crammed schedules. All of that landed me in the hospital, an emergency room, thinking I was having a heart attack, when in fact I was having a panic attack brought on by stress.
Wow.
So what was ironic about that, I thought, how on earth could this be happening? And I felt like a fraud, really, when it first occurred, because here I am, this organic eating, exercising, mindful, meditating, positive thinking person, and how on earth could I let myself go to that direction of just allowing distractions and circumstances dictate my life in such a direction that I ended up where I did. So it scared me enough that I made some huge lifestyle shifts and adopted a much more mindful approach to my life, reconnected with my spiritual self, which was hugely important and something my mother had instilled in me for, all of my life. So I was very grateful to be able to make that connection very quickly. And I felt like I was coming home and creating a balance, and coming home not only in a spiritual sense, but coming home with really starting to move my life in the direction I felt was not only my passion. We talk a lot about passion, but certainly what I was sent here to do. So that's it in a nutshell.
Well, listen, that's a great nutshell, because most of us are experiencing the same situation. And the fact that you, like you said, you were doing quote unquote everything right in reference to mindfulness, or at least reference to your exercise, your body, mind, and still the busyness comes in, seeps in, and takes over and creates that level of anxiety that led to what you thought could have been a heart attack, but was just a panic attack. I shouldn't say just a panic attack. Panic attacks are pretty scary, So it is a forever vigilance you have to have on this, isn't it? It's not just something that you could understand and then just let it go, right? It's something that you have to keep constant oversight on.
Well, that's a great point, and I think I always remember what Deepak Chopra says, and that is awareness can't be undone. I'm paraphrasing. Once you're aware of something, you can't undo that awareness. And I believe that once we're given information, or however that information comes to us, whether it's an experience like I had, or you read something, or you meet somebody, however that information comes to us, it will resonate with us when we're ready to hear it. You can be told it all of your life, shown it all of your life, but until you're ready to really receive that information, that message, however you want to define it, you will let it go by. So when it comes to busy, there's a real seduction, if you will, to busy. And even though the book is about, it says, real life solutions for overscheduled women, this is something that crosses. It's not gender based. It's in our culture. And the promise of busy is that we will become a part of this elite pack of doers and change makers. And that feels pretty darn good for most people, for most of us, that we're going to be part of this elite group. And busy, when we're busy and other people around us are, quote, busy, then we want to be busy too. And if we're not, there's now, I call leisure the new lazy, because there's this idea that if we put our feet up, we must not be very important because we don't have a lot to do, right?
Yeah.
It's so important to find that balance back again. But this idea of busy makes us feel important because we have things to do, places to go, people to see. And there's three really significant components that create this, in my opinion, that in my research, that have created this culture to be so rampant everywhere now, and we're all affected by it.
So these three things that you're saying, one, of course, is being, I assume one, of course, is being, want to keep up with the Joneses. They're busy, so I got to be busy.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that idea of keeping up, that's one of the traps is, if you're doing it, then I need to do it too, so that I'm part of that group. So that's definitely a big part of it. But the three things really that have culminated are economics, technology, and a disconnection from nature. And those three things, and I can talk in depth if you'd like, but those three things have had a lot to do with it. And it's that what you just said, it's that fast pace and that continuous comparisons of trying to keep up or outdo with what someone else is doing, either to do more or to do less, whatever it might be. It's that trap that we get ourselves into. And all three of those things, economics, technology, have a lot to do with it, and that disconnection of nature is a key component in what's happening.
Listen, those three are really hot topics, and I do want to extensively talk about them. Let's start with, if you don't mind, excuse me, with technology, because I find that the most fascinating one. Because technology, the whole concept or supposedly purpose around technology, was to make our lives easier, and we should be able to slow down, enjoy life more, and let technology take over and do all the menial, time-consuming, busy work, right? But it doesn't seem to be that way,
Correct.
Does it? Why don't you explain to the audience and the listeners and viewers why perhaps it's it's ironic how we thought it was supposed to be a way and be a certain way, and it's not.
Yeah, and it's kind of comical that I'm talking about it, since I live literally in the heart of the Silicon Valley. Facebook is literally down
They
the
need
street.
you. They need you, Yvonne. They need you there. All right.
Thank you, Jim. The technology, and I talk about it a lot, and I always start off by saying it is fantastic. I mean, we would not be able to mobilize and have the movement and the awakening, I believe, that we've had in a short amount of time if it weren't for technology. We certainly wouldn't have a lot of the medical advances that we've had. So technology does really great things. I have a daughter that lives across the country. FaceTime, thank you, because I get to see her face, which I wouldn't be able to do otherwise if it weren't for technology. But what has happened is it's kind of like giving the car keys to a 10-year-old and say, go drive, right? Well, the 10-year-old can probably get down the driveway, maybe down the street, but that 10-year-old is not going to be able to drive across country without some huge incident happening, because that 10-year-old is not ready to operate fully informed this piece of equipment. Technology is the same. It came to us, it came fast and furious, And now we have all of this technology. I mean, and when we talk about disconnection from nature, you know, you don't even have to touch or buy your vegetables anymore. All you have to do is touch a button, it can be delivered.
Yeah.
And, you know, so the conveniences are great depending on whom you are. I happen to like to go to farmer's market. That's just me.
Right.
It's not right or wrong. It's just different.
Right.
But with technology, it has made that comparison game very evident.
Yeah,
you can...
Yvonne, we're going to take a quick break here. We have a quarter after hour break. When we get back, let's continue that conversation with the convenience of how convenience kind of now forces us to level up, get busier, and with other things that maybe not as important or on the Maslow hierarchy of needs. We could kind of compare it to that if you want. But we'll be right back with Yvonne Talley. She's the author of this incredible book called Breaking Up with Busy. And it's all about, it's genderless, so for men and for women. And it's all about what you can do and the traps of getting too busy and what you can do to get out of getting too busy. It's a wonderful book, especially in this time and day. It's needed. We'll be right back with Yvonne Talley.
Hi, my name is Beth Peters, Atlanta-based psychic, medium, animal communicator, and your host for The Psychic Soup. Every Monday, I bring in fascinating guests and touch on everyday topics, but with a psychic's twist. From authors to radio hosts and even aspiring psychics. I like to talk to people and learn how us psychics can help them in ways they've never dreamed of. Psychic Soup is on Mondays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and other platforms. You can also watch me on Facebook Live, where you can ask your questions and I'll be able to answer it live on air. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as United Intentions, and on Twitter as Higher Intention. Remember, you can always ask your questions beforehand by emailing radio@unitedintentions.org with the subject line Psychic Soup, and I'll make sure to read your question on the air. So relax, take a deep breath, and dive into the Psychic Soup, a spoonful of psychics for soulful readings.
All right, we are back with Yvonne Talley, and we are getting busy. Not. Author of Breaking Up with Busy. You can reach her at YvonneTalley.com. Phenomenal woman. She is she's working down in Silicon Valley, and she's shaking up all these guys and gals down there to get them less busy and more focused on what's important. And what's more important? Isn't it an individual perspective, or is there a universal of what's important type of way of life out there? I don't know. We'll find out today. Yvonne, so we left off you just discussing technology, how technology does make life convenient for us in many ways. However, the whole point of slowing down and enjoying, smelling the roses doesn't seem to go hand in hand with that. And what was your reasons why?
Well, so, we were talking about how it's just come into our culture. So we haven't had the training to set the boundaries around it. And it's got a very, as I said, it's got this quality about it where it makes everything convenient. So it makes it feel like it's okay for us to use it and use it and use it. But again, establishing boundaries around that is really important. And just to give you some stats, we check our phone 80 times a day. And if you're a millennial, you check your phone 150. Now, what does that equate to? Well, that equates to 5 hours a day. So no wonder why we're busy. We have substituted quality for quantity. Again, that goes to that busy culture. The more we do, the better it is. The more we do, the more important we are. And that's not the case at all. We're just busy. We just end up being busy. And when we get busy, all of the things, or not all the things, some of the signals are that the things that we once enjoyed now become inconveniences. And so technology, in its promise to give us convenience, which it has, now we think that, well, I don't have to do that, so I'm going to fill it in with something else. And what happens is our body and our mind starts to respond to that pace. So it's a very layered effect that starts to happen. It's called the juice. And so we get hooked on that juice of going. And when we're not doing anything or we're just sitting, we're still on our phones. We're still connecting somehow with technology because we've forgotten how to just be. And that's seen as, when I say that to a group, especially in the Silicon Valley, I see a universal eye roll. Oh, here's
one of them.
I'm supposed to be. Yeah, she's one of them. Let's check for her Buddha bracelet. But it definitely is. We learn how to be in the world in a different way.
Right.
And in fact, when I work with people with meditation the first time, Tim, they'll say to me afterwards, I fell asleep. I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I said, well, you didn't really fall asleep. Your body relaxed, and it forgot how to relax.
Right.
I feel tired. No, you feel relaxed.
It's almost like, Yvonne, it's almost like with money, because it's a forever insatiable drive to have money. I mean, once you get a certain level of money, you're like, okay, great. I got money. I have a secure house. I have a secure home, or whatever it may be. But then you live to the next level, and you need more money for your next endeavor. Then you need more money for your next endeavor. And so we always create an environment where we need more money to move in whatever direction we want to move in. So it's almost like you think once you get money, you can relax it back, have a margarita, go to the beach, and live forever happily ever after. But it doesn't seem that way, because we keep moving with this drive, this almost insatiable drive. I mean, have you pinpointed where this drive's coming from?
Yeah, well, when you talk about money, people, that's a thing. So money, a house, a car, those are all things. So when people the drive behind it is we as human beings, we all want to move towards pleasure and away from pain. And everybody is going to have a different experience with that. And I don't mean, it could be physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, whatever that is. We are always going to try to move away from that. So the money, when you talk about money, that's a big bowl that we're going to dip into here, because it's different for each person. It depends on what they're trying to get the money to provide for them. And in my book, I talk about, let's get underneath that. Like, what is it you really want? What is that money going to do for you? And how will you know? Like, what is going to change for you when you have, the extra X amount of dollars, or you have the big house? And it's never the thing. Once I can get somebody to open up about that, it's never the house or the money. It's what they're trying to fill inside. And we share this as human beings. We all want to be appreciated, and we all want to be happy. No matter who you are, we share that as human beings. We want to be appreciated, and we want to be happy. So early on, Tim, we set up these strategies, and those strategies become habits. We find a way to move through our world, right? And so whatever those habits are, they're gonna be based upon what we've learned early on. And the more we do those habits, the more they become really efficient. That's how the brain is able to relax, is through performing habits, because it doesn't have to think as much.
Right.
So the habits with the strategies and whatever it is I'm trying to ignore, that I'm trying to fill up, all of that gets tied into this money and doing and things and busy. So it all kind of, it works together. We could dissect it down to the very core, but those things are all connected. What do I want? What am I missing? But people forget to ask them that question. What's going to change for me when I do have that?
Yeah, so true. Daniel Packard, I've had him on the show a couple of times. I think he's a brilliant man. He says, Tim, it all comes down to one thing. All these, like you said, this lack or drive, whatever it may be, he believes it all comes down to this feeling of not enoughness, that we don't feel enough. And so we got to move on. We got to have that. We got to have this. Because we're coming from, like you, as you know, we'll get into this other part here of connecting with nature. As you know, it's coming from identification on the outside rather than coming from within, right? So does that resonate at all? Any truth with you?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you talk about not enoughness, if you will, and technology again plays into that distraction. And remember, now we've developed a habit geared towards distraction, and technology has an addictive behavior to it, or an addictive enticement to it. It's very well organized. So not feeling enough now is become even more evident, because now we can see it everywhere. We can see it on every piece of technology. every piece of social media. We are constantly comparing ourselves. You look at Instagram, it looks like everybody's living a phenomenal life, right? They're not. It's called a filter.
Yeah.
So we need to filter within before we try to do a filter on the outside. It's that the world has shrunk in a way where we are able to compare ourselves, and we have become very external in those pursuits.
Is it all? Yvonne, is it all an adrenaline rush? I mean, adrenaline has to be the most common hormone being released when we're caught into the social media, when we're caught into the staying busy, because adrenaline comes from a sympathetic nervous system reaction, not a parasympathetic, which is the calming, the serotonin, the endorphins. Do you break it on down on that biochemical level too when you share this information?
Well, when you talk about adrenaline, there's a phase. So, gaming is a big part of it, when you talk about technology, gaming. Yeah. So you get that adrenaline rush in gaming, and that is followed by the other pieces, the dopamine that follows. So you get into that kind of feeling where you've accomplished what you've accomplished. You also build up a lot of cortisol when you're in that state of adrenaline pursuit, and you don't move. We're not moving physically. So that all gets set up. It's not always an adrenaline pump, though, for people. There's some that's going to be a part of that effect, or that drive, I should say. But that is certainly a huge part of the health problem with this, because when you pump that much adrenaline and you build up that cortisol, and then you don't move the body physically, as with computers and gaming and a sedentary lifestyle. When that happens, that's when we start to set up these big health issues, such as diabetes, heart problems, weight gain, depression. All of these things start to follow suit. So I'm not sure that is the drive for everybody. It certainly is a response to this kind of a pace, if you will.
Yeah, like a maintenance response, too, because it's self-sustaining, isn't it? Because you get, like you said, the adrenaline, then all of a sudden the dopamine, and then that reaction is kind of one the other, and it kind of keeps you in this cycle, although the probably drive is that not enoughness, But, it is so addictive. I mean, my kids are caught up, well, at least one of my kids are caught up into it, and I'm sure I was at the time too, but it seems has a handle over our children and over our adults. I mean, really, how do you break it? I mean, how do you get now before you get this answer, we'll get the answers on the half of the hour, but before we go there and how to break, because I know that you know how to do that. So you got technology, and let's focus on the connection or lack of connection to nature. God got us all there is, or whatever you want to say. But let's focus on that first before we go into the how to get out of this.
Okay, yeah. So once we become let's go back to the addictive nature of all of this busyness, the juice, the accolades. Oh my gosh, that person did this. Did you see that? So that comparison that's happening, and now we've got all of these things that we're doing that we're piling onto our plate. When technology was, had the promise of taking those things off our plate, we just kept adding more, because now we're in that cycle. And one of the things that we took off our plate was being in nature. I mean, when was the last time after dinner you grabbed your partner's hand and said, "Let's go for a walk"? Or when's the last time you just stepped outside and looked up at the sky and said thank you? I mean, talk about abundance. It's all around us, but we forget to do that. Now, why is that important? Well, think of your senses. Think of what happens when when we gaze upon something beautiful, when we breathe in the fragrance of nature, all of those things now start to settle the body and reduce that cortisol and allow us to have that sense of well-being, our increase of sense of well-being. When we take a deep breath in and we stimulate the vagus nerve, which triggers within our nervous response, we're able, and it's that large nerve running from our neck down to our abdomen. We lower our blood pressure, and that helps decrease the cortisol. That happens in nature just by taking a big breath. So it's important for us to connect with that, with what we see, with what we feel, with what we smell. Also, when we're in nature, we will have a tendency to be more quiet if we don't have our electronics with us. And a quiet mind is a creative mind. A quiet mind is a healthy mind.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about going out for 20, 30, 40 minutes, although that's fantastic. If you're addicted to technology and you haven't stepped outside, and I say this every time after I teach a meditation class, go outside, take a 1 to 5 minute walk, and at some point stop and look up. And take a deep breath in. It's as simple as that, really, Tim. I mean, that starts to change.
Yeah, and focus on gratefulness, like you said. I think that 1, 2, 3 punch combination is health right there. We're gonna take another break.
Yeah.
We'll get back. I love this topic on technology and on connecting with nature, negative and positive ions, and the actual chemistry going on and biology going on at the time, what she's talking about, and how great you feel. When we get back, Yvonne, let's get into a little bit of the of what we can do, start doing to try to break up some of these cycles and some of the things that I do want to get into a little bit in your book as well. When you talk about some of these, I think you call them critical, you call them busy busting solutions. So we'll get into some of the busy busting solutions, how to get your life back, really, how to get your life back and start enjoying life and be a human being, not the human doing that we all become similar. We're not similar, but we all have become very familiar with. I'm just always doing something. I'm always got something going on. I'm always staying busy. So we'll get to the bottom of this. We'll be right back with Yvonne Talley. You can reach her at YvonneTalley.com. See you in a minute.
Hi, my name is Maria Sullivan, and welcome to The Silver Lining, a show about overcoming anything life throws at you and seeing the blessings from within. I've dealt with people from all walks of life, people who have believed there was no way out or have given up on life. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is always a silver lining if you know where and how to look for it. Join me on the United Intentions Network and on Spreaker at United Intentions as we discuss the unfortunate situations in life and learn how others have found their power from within. Hear how they've transformed their world and the world around them for the better. I invite you to listen in, and I hope to see you there.
All right, we are back with Yvonne Talley, author of Breaking Up with Busy. Wow, it just seems overwhelming. You know, you bring in the hormones, and you bring in the daily addictive habits we had with technology, and I agree. And our disconnection with nature, whatever that means to you, even praying prayers, your relationship with Christ or whatever religion it is, that's a deviation from the busyness as well. When you can slow down and be in commune with that, it's amazing to me how we just got caught, Yvonne, in this culture that it's overwhelming. It seems like all these birds are flying in this direction. And as you're there talking to probably thousands of people at a time at Silicon Valley, trying to just say, stop and smell the roses, right? It seems like an easy thing to do, but habitually it's not, unless you really have conscious intent to do it, right?
Well, yeah, and it's like I want to go back to the habits. It's developing a habit. We're in the habit of being busy now. We're in the habit of having that juice flood through our body. And I always tell this story. My mother raised 6 kids on her own, worked 2 jobs many of the times, and I remember after life had moved forward, and she was remarried and was having grandchildren around, and she still couldn't slow down, even though she didn't have to be like that anymore. She didn't have to work 2 jobs. She didn't have to do the hustle of the home type of thing. And I remember saying to her one day, "Mom, just sit down, put your feet up." She says, "I have so much to do. What do you have to do?" And she was, she didn't have anything to do, but she felt like she did. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a feeling that we have to continually do all the time, because now it's a habit. And we've forgotten how to just slow the pace. Just slow how we talk to people. Slow down how you speak to them. Slow down how you walk. Slow down how you drive. Just try those 3 things, and you'll be amazed at how you become now connected with how you are physically moving, how you are communicating, how you are transporting your body through this world. Those are 3 little tiny kind of things that you can do to start to wake up your consciousness, because that's really what it's about. And I'm going to go back to what we first started about too. There has to be a knowledge first, information first. And that's what you and I are doing right now. We're sharing information with people, and they can make that choice depending on what they want to do with it. When somebody is ready to slow down, they will. Hopefully, it won't be at a time when they experience something like I did, or something like anyone else might experience in their life, where it's really a dramatic change. Because we don't want to fall down, and we just want to kind of skid the surface a little bit to get the message, so to speak. The message being, hey, I need to make some changes. I need to care for my mind, my spirit, as much as I'm going to care for my body, because it's all connected. It all runs together. So how do we do that?
Yeah. How do you do that? It seems simple. How do you do it?
Well, it's simple in the sense that there's simple ways to do it. There's kind of some 1, 2, 3 steps that you can do. But again, it's going to be, the first thing is going to be, do I want to? Am I willing to admit to myself that I am whole within myself? I don't need to have all of these other things all the time. Now, I'm not asking people to put down their phones forever. It's part of our culture. I'm going back to the 10-year-old in the car. We have to set boundaries. We have to allow technology into our life where we still have room for nature, where we still, when busy pushes its way into our significant relationships, there's little room left for emotional intimacy. When we allow ourselves to be present and vulnerable and aware of our needs and the needs of our other partners, we can't be distracted. Otherwise, that emotional intimacy is not going to occur. So when people think that this is just about doing stuff, no, this is affecting our relationships. And when we're distracted by our pursuits and shift our priorities so that our significant relationships fall behind those pursuits, we become disconnected from our partners.
You hit on the really hot topic. Let's spend a little time on that too, because it is, I believe, with most relationships out there, this drive to be busy is the death knell for intimate relationships. I don't think it always has been, and more so now than ever before. Do you see that often now, how we rationalize why I'm busy, what I got to do? I got to make money. I got to, do my whatever I got to do, and how it just takes away from the quality time you have with the one that you want to spend your quality time with.
I do, and I see it a lot. We know that when people, you watch new lovers or young lovers, and they gaze at one another, you'll see it, right?
Yeah.
They just look at one another. Well, what's happening? We're stimulating our oxytocin. Again, we're getting that good feeling, that dopamine. I mean, and those are all really good things for our brain, too, not just for our body, but for our brain. So when you're standing there with your face in your phone and your partner is asking you a question or communicating with you somehow, how is that person going to feel, number one, that they are a priority? And if you're raising children, what are we modeling for our children? What are they going to do? So then when we say pay attention to them, why aren't you why aren't you listening to me? Well, we've already taught them how not to.
Cats in the cradle.
They can listen with one another, but we know the brain can't. We know now multitasking doesn't work. The brain can't differentiate between dissimilar tasks. It's not set up that way. So we create more mistakes, more miscommunication. What does miscommunication lead to? So it's a very layered, experience that happens with this busy culture, and there's a lot of things involved in it, and primarily those 3 I believe that we talked about. But I just want to say this part about relationships. It's unlikely that we will be raised up and invigorated by our relationships if we feel tired and stressed or unsupported. And it's doubtful that our partners will feel inspired to support us if they don't feel they are a priority. It's a cat chasing the tail or dog chasing the tail. I mean, this is how it gets set up. And there's a difference between being productive and being busy. And I think people have to realize there's a big difference between the two. And the biggest one is productive people have priorities and know when to say no. Busy people say yes to everything. And we've gotten used to saying yes to everything because technology has made it so easy for us to, hey, I can take care of that. Oh, I'll check that out. Oh, I'll figure that. Oh, let me give them a call. Oh, I've got it right here. It's up here on the phone. So it's so easy. It's enticing. As I said, it's there's a seduction to it. So
that's wonderful. Difference between productivity and busy. So how do you break that? How do you bust that one? How do you become more productive and less busy?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is, and I always tell everybody, what is your need-want connection? Once you've established what you want, somebody says, well, I want more time. Well, if you have more time, then I'll unwrap that a little bit more. But it's really, asking, and I'm not just saying on a superficial level, but what is it that you want? And then that next question is, what will change when you have what you want? So it's exploring that connection because, you can want the big house and the big car. And as we talked earlier, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not using that example as a judgment. It's just an example. So, but what is it that's going to give you that you don't have now? And how are you going to know when it changes? So that's the first thing. Get really clear on what it is that you need to have that want met. And then the big thing, biggest busy busting solution I can give is to set healthy boundaries. Think of boundaries like handrails on a staircase. Everyone feels better when they're there. And if we learn to set healthy boundaries, and I've got a couple ways to do that in the book, then what do? We teach our office mates, oh, that's a boundary for Tim. We teach our kids, oh, that's a boundary for Dad. We teach our, anybody that we're sharing with our life, and everybody feels better. We don't have to second guess.
Give me an example. Give me a real life example of a boundary being set that could get you from being busy to productivity.
Well, the first thing I always go to is the parenting, because that seems to be the biggest thing that comes up when your child says, we're going to do this today and we're going to do that today, and you promised me that we would go here and there. Jeffrey, whatever his name is, I told you no yesterday because we have X. And then Jeffrey starts in on the pushback, right? Because that's what kids do. That's their whole thing. They want to test the boundaries. They want to see how much it can move. Yeah. And you answer it maybe one more time, and then you just with compassion look at your child and say, that's the end of our discussion. That's it. And then the first few times the kid is going to go very dramatic or quiet or whatever. It's not our job to make them feel better at that point. It is our job to know that we've set a healthy boundary, that when we say no, no is no. That's what's fair in the relationship. It's also what's fair to ourselves. It's just like at work. When, let's say you have a commitment on Thursday, and mind you, these are just examples. Yeah. Let's say you have a commitment every Thursday that is really significant for you. Maybe it's you go to your church on Thursday, maybe you volunteer, and you make that very clear that on Thursday you cannot stay late at work, or I shouldn't say cannot. On Thursday you make a different choice for yourself. So if you stick to that, it's very unlikely that you're going to be called upon to do something late on a Thursday for work, because your boss or office mates know that you've already committed to something on Thursday. But if you say, "Oh, yeah, I can do it this Thursday. Yeah, I can do it in a couple of weeks," that's not going to be a boundary that they're going to hold, or they're going to respect, not out of trying to be disrespectful, just out of the fact that they know that they can really get you to change your mind if they want to, because you're going to change your mind. So it's just saying what you mean and mean what you say, and be consistent and clear on your communication. And another way for boundaries, on the other side of that, if you're a people pleaser, it becomes very uncomfortable to say no to people. So I say, flag your feelings. Be aware of what your feelings are. So I have a yellow flag, means to pause and evaluate before you say anything or do anything. And a red flag means, okay, you've already gone past that point. You need to step out, be firm and kind, but step out and ask for time. Or say, I need time, 15 minutes, I'll be back to you. It's that pause that we need to take that can allow the mind and the brain to catch up with what we're reacting to, so that we can engage rather than react. Clear communication is key, though.
Yeah.
And keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Go with your gut.
Right.
But consistency is the key.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that too. We can get back from break. Let's talk about our gut and our intuition. And it seems like when we don't listen to it or we don't develop it, that we do get caught up into this outside gratification for this cycle of keeping busy for busy's sake rather than for productivity's sake. And let's talk about how you learn to tap into your intuition and what does that mean to you, and how perhaps others can tap into too when we get back from this break. We're talking to Yvonne Talley, author of Breaking Up with Busy. It is a busy world out there, and perhaps we'll get a little bit into when we get back to the controlling ways and more moving towards more allowing ways in our society, in our world. We'll see what Yvonne's take on that is as well. Catch her at YvonneTalley.com, YvonneTalley.com. We're right back. Hello, my name is Tim Ray, founder of the United Intentions Foundation, where we help people like you untap their true potential and consciously create their reality with their power of their intentions. We're a 501c3 nonprofit foundation, and we need your help. Imagine a world where kids can be themselves and just create. A world where businesses thrive under mindful thinking. An education program that teaches people to tap into their mind and create their ideal world with no hesitations. That's what we are doing at the United Intentions Foundation, and that's what we are accomplishing. Each time you donate to this movement, you help fund our Imagine If program, where we talk to children in schools and teach them the benefits and powers of creating the reality they want to experience. With each donation, you also help fund our online community, where people interact and support each other through our social media portal. Here you can create intentions, show gratitude, and connect with people all over the world. Our world is suffering from a crisis of perception, from childhood to adulthood. We have to shift our perception now and begin empowering all with the power of our intention so we can live in a positive future. But this can only continue to happen if you continue to donate. So please, click a reoccurring or a one-time donation. Now is the time. Right. We are back with the author of Breaking Up with Busy, Yvonne Talley, and I was just reading your acknowledgments in the back there, Yvonne. Now, I'm not sure if you're talking about your angels, about your children and people around you, or if you believe in angels, if you believe in a world outside of this three-dimensional world, supporters. Do you?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes. And it's such a delight to speak with somebody on those terms. Again, especially being in the Silicon Valley where everything is very techy. There's still...
well, they may be more familiar with dark angels over there, but, again, we have to wake them up. I'm only kidding. But, no, go ahead. Yeah. It is good. And, in fact, I love that people are able to talk about this because... not so many years ago, people thought, you're crazy. What do you mean I have angels? I don't believe in angels. And it's not like I can sit down here and prove to you I have angels, but I know I do. I believe I do. And that's all that really matters, at least to me. I mean, if you don't believe it, I don't care. These are my angels, right? Which are probably your angels too, in whatever sense. But so you believe you're guided. Do you believe these angels assist with your intuition, assist with your higher self in your day-to-day decisions?
Absolutely. I just want to make a quick point about just the Silicon Valley and technology again. I always think of them as the trailblazers because they really are opening a path for so much goodness. I believe that as well. It's like anything. When we get too off to one side and we ignore the other parts of who we are as a being, that's when I feel as though it's beneficial to each of us to come back to our center. My center is one that is of soul. That is really where I feel connected with all. Like people say, well, how can you love everyone? And I don't know if this is the right answer, but I know it's the answer for me. I always say I love everyone's soul and everyone's being. I don't necessarily like the person.
I love you, but I love you over there.
I can love their soul, though, because I do believe that is what everything is based in. I feel completely connected to an abundant infinite universe. And I am never alone, and I am never without love and support. And the people that have been in my life in this lifetime, I still feel as they're present, and their presence in my life each day. And I absolutely believe in guides and angels because I have experienced it on a personal basis when I've gone deep into meditation or when I've been driving my car. So
Hello.
It's absolutely in every, like, oh, hi, Mom. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Type of the feeling, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I am Sam, I am so grateful for that. I have immense gratitude for that. I cannot imagine being in this world without that connection.
Right. No, you hit on it because I think it's wonderful. And the fact that you say you may not care for that person's behavior, but you love their soul. And what I get from that when people are in that level of gratitude and understanding of human nature, of human beings, of that we're all of God, right? We're all enough. We're born enough. Is that forgiveness? It's like at some point that person may be lost, but they could always be found. They could always get in contact with their own angels, and they could come around like, oh my goodness. And then you could reconnect with that person on a level that you always wanted to, but you couldn't because they were disconnected from that, or at least from that, not from the same frequency as you're in. Connection of that higher power, God, Goddess, all there is, angels, Christ, whatever you want to, whatever you feel is your understanding and belief. So I get it, and I think that's really a healthy perspective in life for everyone because you're acknowledging our connection with everyone. And when you have that and you live in that, like that flow, that energy, that flow of gratitude and the flow of kindness and the flow of knowing that you're interconnected, how can you be busy? I mean, are they mutually exclusive?
No, well, I think we're having an earthly planet experience. So we're here on Earth as human beings. So this is part of our experience. This is part of our human experience. So busy, it's we're human beings. That's our experience that we're having here, and so busy can definitely ramrod its way into our lives because it's part of our culture. So depending on where your awareness is, and I don't think anyone is ever disconnected from their angels. I just think that they are not aware of it. That's all. And I don't mean that in a judgment sense, like you're not aware, I'm more aware. It's just that I believe that is absolutely real in our life here on planet Earth, that some of us are on a different pathway, different journey, different time, different awareness, a different realm of awareness. So I think that as human beings, we're going to act like human beings, and we're going to slip, and that's part of our journey. That's part of our opportunity to either go deeper within our spiritual self or to perhaps hold a light for someone else to find their spiritual self. Maybe, maybe not. But the best thing that you can do in this lifetime is to close your eyes at night and to know that you've lived a meaningful, well-spent day in love with gratitude. That's the best that we can do each day.
Beautifully stated, because it is so. Because I truly believe when you are, and we have these moments. I mean, I always talk about we have 70,000 thoughts a day, but out of those thoughts, when you're in that present moment, you're in that state of gratitude. You feel that connection with the angels. You feel the connection with God, right? And I think time stops. I think there is a kind of time-space continuum, or at least it slows down. And when it does, and it may just be for a moment or a few minutes, it may not, trust me, we go right back into beta waves again, as you know, as an NLP expert there, you go right back into beta waves again, and you're kind of out of that. But when you slow down, you're in those alpha or theta wave, and that's when you do connect to the infinite, let's just say. I don't think you can be busy at that present moment. I think when you fall out of it, or I say disconnect, you say be unaware, aware, conscious, unconscious, whatever it may be, it's always there. I agree with you. The source is always there. It's whether we're aware of it or not is really the good way of explaining it, like you said. So I do think, in my opinion, it may be mutually exclusive, but I think that throughout our day we go from busy to connection, busy to awareness, and the more the more that we're understanding this, you're breaking up with busy and the solutions in there, the more we could be less busy and more in connection with that the infinite. You agree with that?
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. And I misinterpreted your question earlier about can you be busy and be spiritually or connected, whatever your source is. Yeah, I think busyness definitely takes us out of that. And so that's why, I go back to the habits and how we create that and how we get used to certain things. That's why when somebody asks, well, what's your number one tip? And I always say, well, meditation. Even though meditation isn't something we do, it's a way of being.
It's a tool.
We have to learn the practice. We have to teach our mind and body the practice of meditation. So start with 1 minute. And often, or most of the time, people will say, well, that doesn't do anything. Yes, it does, because we're so focused on getting way out there with the accomplishment that we forget that we need to lay the stone steps to move the path forward. So one step at a time.
Right.
1 minute of meditation. If you're not meditating, I had a gentleman come up to me after a lecture one day, and he had his phone in his hand. He goes, you got to be kidding. You're asking me to put my phone down 5 minutes a day. There's no way I can do that. And I looked at him and I said, there's no way that you can do that, or would you like to make a choice to move towards that?
Smart.
Could you or should you?
Right.
And he just looked at me and he said, I'd never thought of it that way.
It is our self-talk.
Try 1 minute.
Yeah.
Try 1 minute. And so that's it. We just have to allow ourselves the permission to start to make the adjustment. That's why I also spend a lot of time talking about the science and the health aspect of this, because for most people they'll say, I can't do this, or why should I do this? But when you sprinkle that with a little bit of what the health benefits are, then they start to think, okay, yeah, maybe this is something that would really benefit me in the long run, and help me be healthier and more mindful and connect on a more, on a basis that I would like to, whatever that might be.
Sure. No, wonderful. I think we have a few minutes left here, and I think you're right on. So, Yvonne, how else are you sharing to the world? What are you giving to the world right now? What is some of the services you offer outside of your wonderful, incredible Breaking Up with Busy book here? So I know you do NLP. How people want to perhaps reach you and get some services from you? One, what will they get, and how can they reach you?
Well, they can reach me through YvonneTalley.com. Everything is right there, and it'll give them a pretty good, clear idea of what I do. But I do work with individuals, with businesses, corporations, private clients, in whatever they are trying to achieve to better their lives. And I do it in a very holistic way, in the sense that I'm not, prescribing anything for them to do except to get in touch with themselves, and I give them specific tools on how to do that. If it's with a corporation, they're trying to improve communication, then I'll work with people one-on-one or in groups with improving their communication. And we can go way spiritual, or we can go the other entirely different direction, and that's, working strictly on communication, although it does all merge at one point.
Does it not? It all leads to the same source. It really does. It's amazing. Well, listen, I know, Yvonne, I had so much fun. Can you hold on a second after the show's over? You have a minute?
Absolutely.
All right.
Of course. Thank you, Tim.
No, listen, this is incredible information. You're doing incredible work. I just love the fact how you brought in spirituality and busyness, and how important it is for people to understand that it's all distraction from our being, and it's a great way of reaching people. I mean, it's an incredible way of reaching people, and the fact you're doing all this other services for corporations and for individuals, you're a light worker, and apparently, I know you know that, but I'll let the rest of our viewers and listeners know you're a light worker out there, making a difference in the ripple that you do every day. We'll never really know the impact of it, at least not in this lifetime, and but knowing that you're doing it is all that you need to know, and you are. So God bless you, and thank you for being born, and thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing this book with me.
Thank you, Tim, so much. It was lovely. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, we got the show coming on. Next here is with Beth Peters, The Psychic Soup. Enjoy that, and then don't forget about Silver Lining at 6 o'clock tonight. We'll see you then.
You have been listening to The Good Intention Show on the UI Radio Network. The Good Intention Show is sponsored by the United Intentions Foundation at unitedintentions.org. Look for us on Blog Talk, Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, and